fun because just the day before, it was actually a 2-day show, Friday and Saturday. Saturday was 212 and open for the Texas Pro. In the 212, probably the biggest, Ahmad Al-Sadani finally won a show because he'd just been runner-up 2 shows in a row. It had to be frustrating.
Yeah.
Runner-up to Keon and then runner-up to Kareth Baggio.
Yep.
And he finally, and Kareth didn't go to Texas. I thought he was going to go.
Yes, what happened there? You're right.
Must have changed his mind. He probably was like, I'm good. So I don't know. We'll have to find out. But congratulations to Ahmed. What a beautiful physique.
Oh.
Glad to see he's clearly in the Olympia now. He deserves to be in the Olympia. That's a first call-out guy as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think he could be top 6 Olympia? Because I really rate him, mate. I really do.
Little better condition, yeah. He's not really missing much of anything. It's going to be a tough 212 Olympia. Very tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. I would not want to be a judge. Also, Guy Cisternino announced his retirement.
Yes.
He's been a pro since 2008.
Wow.
He's probably done like 40 shows or more. He's won 7 shows. He's been up at the top. Jose and I were talking about it. So he's one of the veterans. He's been all over the world representing 202, and then it switched to 212. Because Jose actually took a little offense because I said, you're on the Mount Rushmore. Guy Cisternino's not on the Mount Rushmore of 212, but he's right next to it. Americans know Mount Rushmore. It's this big. They carved the 4 presidential faces out of side of a mountain.
Listen. We know what Mount Rushmore. We're not total. Okay, we're not total ignorant peasants over here in Europe.
Well, anyway, my bad. But Jose believes he does. He is worthy. He believes Guy was just as significant to the division as Flex Lewis, Kevin English, Jose,
Eduardo.
Who else? Who was that?
I saw him at breakfast. Was it yesterday? Hang on. The day before when I went, he was at the breakfast at the hotel. Eduardo Correa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him the other morning. Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. So, Guy, he knew he wanted to go out, I think, before his body really started to decline because he's 39, but he's done so many shows. He's brutally heavy and intense trainer. I think he realizes it's probably time to step away before his body starts showing a lot more wear, as it eventually would with anybody. But what a career Guy had. He was in almost every show that I can remember, every big show. He was always there somewhere.
He won the New York Pro, and I remember seeing him at the Manchester when he had the British Grand Prix in 2012.
Yep.
And he was good then. I mean, that's a long. I mean, it's like if you can have a good long career, and also going out on a top 6 spot as well with all these new young guys coming up, and still holding your own. It was probably the really good show to do this at a show this stacked.
Yeah, I'm so glad that he did it that way instead of he could have just after the Tampa show where he didn't make top 15.
Yeah.
He could have just said that's it. I guess I'm done, and he could have just done a post on Instagram or a live or something, but instead he whipped himself into much better condition, and it was only 1 week, right? 1 week.
Okay, yeah.
Markedly improved, and he went out looking very good, and he went out at the podium with a little speech, choking back tears, and thanked everybody, the fans, the judges, everybody. It was moving. So it's good to see him go out on a high note like that.
You've just triggered something. Talking about people that turned it around in a week. I've actually got indigestion from eating my hat. I actually went out and bought a hat because I didn't own one, and I ate it.
I've never seen you wear a hat in your life.
Just roll with it, okay? Just nod, nod and smile like most people do when I'm telling bad jokes. Austin Carr, oh my God! Remember what I said on the preview? I like being proved wrong in instances like this. You said to me, Austin Carr, he can pull it around a week. I said, nah, his arse is fat. He ain't gonna pull that around in a week. Absolutely no chance. And I said it with such conviction. Go watch the preview. And like you said, I said, no, you can't go from out of top 15, out of condition, to because you said top 2. And I was like, I laughed. I think I remember laughing. Yeah. And what happened, Ron?
He got second because, we didn't know. We didn't know if I was at the show and I was at Tampa and looking at him from the back. I don't know I couldn't tell if that was a lot of fluid. I couldn't tell if it was body fat. It was just mush, and I'm being being a little harsh here because we have a very high standard for these guys.
He looked terrible in Tampa. He looked terrible.
He looked horrible. From the front, he looked pretty good. When he turned around, it was like, oh no, he looked like a water buffalo.
But this isn't like Phil Clayhar looking good and then, do you know what I mean? This is different.
Oh, yeah.
This is different.
So I almost wish there was another chance for him to qualify because he got a hell of a physique, that Austin. I mean, the arms and the legs especially are just, they're so big, and he's got such a taper, such a small waist.
Yeah.
I don't know how he would have done it at the 212 Olympia, but another year of work, I assume he'll improve and qualify next year. But yeah, I said top 2, but I was hoping. I wasn't sure if it was possible. But he did. He pulled it off.
Sorry, Ron, have you ever seen anyone? I've never seen actually anyone do quite a dramatic, like out of the top 15, not placed to then get in second. And I mean, this wasn't like a less competitive show. This was a more competitive show. I've never actually.
7 days. It was 7 days. That's amazing.
Unbelievable. I tell you what, that's a big talking point for 2021.
Yeah, sure. That's most improved in a week. If that's a category, he gets it.
Ron called it.
So, but Ian and Phil, who had been 1 and 2 in Tampa, they both went on to Texas, even though Ian was already qualified. But, in my interview and a couple of other interviews, he said he wanted a chance to stand next to Kuklo and see how he compared and hopefully beat him, because he's never beaten Steve before. At the Olympia last year, yeah. Steve was 6th, Ian was 7th. So
No. Steve wasn't in the Olympia last year. Steve was 6th in 2019.
You're right.
But statistically, it works, because if he's 6th in one Olympia and Ian 7th in one Olympia, I suppose it is a gauge of progress.
Yeah.
So
that's
fair.
It's not to say that Steve Kuklo was never going to beat Ian Valliere again, or that's ridiculous. If anyone ever, just because you beat someone at one show doesn't mean they're never going to beat you again. They were very, very close. I was just watching the stream, and I realized after looking at the high-res pictures, the stream just does not give you the detail at all. It's impossible. Unless the camera was like right up in their face, zooming in on every crevice between the muscles. They were all three of them, Ian, Kuklo, and Phil Clayhar, fantastic condition, spot on. So what do you do in a situation like that? I think Ian pulled it out by being a little tighter even at the finals, which was only a matter of 4 or 5 hours later. But he tightened up. Steve stayed the same. Phil, I don't, Phil's great, but I don't think Phil was really in the mix to beat those two at this particular show.
Really?
Kuklo's just there's so much of Kuklo. Yeah. Shoulders are just, it's just overwhelming with the height, the width, the mass, the condition. And he's a pretty decent posing presentation, pretty decent at that. So Ian, I think Ian pulled it off at the confirmation round,
right?
Which I've been arguing with people, and now I'm starting to not be so opposed to the whole concept of a confirmation round, because for a few years now since they started, I said, what a waste of time, and this is ridiculous. We had the judging. Why are we doing this all over again? Because they want to see who looks better and who looks worse. I said, well, why don't they just all try to look their best at the judging, and we'll leave it at that, But we've all seen times where people, if they're not in the first call out, sometimes they go out and have a bunch of cheeseburgers and drink a pitcher of beer, and they come back to the finals looking awful. So this definitely stops that.
As I was busy on the Saturday watching the amateur, I kind of saw the updates from the prejudging. Based upon that, I had Kuklo first, and I would have had no argument with Phil in second and Ian third. But as with Tampa, Ian really pulled it out the bag for the night show, and I didn't see those images. So when I woke up in the morning, I was actually surprised that Ian had won, but I know from previous experience that Ian always looks better in high resolution pictures and video. Yeah, and I think he's one of these guys, like say James Holland said, where you maybe have to see him in the flesh to fully appreciate how big and dense and huge he is. And also so I thought he always pulls out the bag for the night show. So in a way, I kind of wasn't shocked, when I had a day or two to think about it. But I was so disappointed for Steve Kuklo. We're not going to see him at the Mr. Olympia this year.
Unless he wins the Arnold Classic.
It's a tall order, that. Can he do it? Can he do it?
The only person I worry about him beating is Bonac.
Yeah.
Now, not to say that there's a few other people that can't or won't beat him, but Bonac is a 2-time Arnold champion. He's been Olympia runner-up. on paper he's a better bodybuilder, according to the judges at that level than Steve is.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. We've got Rulli, we've got Brandon Curry, we've got William Bonac, we've got Steve Kucklow, we've got Sergio.
Curry's in the Arnold?
I believe he is, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Well, if that's the case, geez, Steve, good luck.
He did.
It's going to be tough.
So
okay, then it's going to be very, very, very tough, Steve. And I actually, I threw this out to Jose yesterday when we talked. I said, what do you think? What about a special invitation? I mean, they used to give Gunther Schlierkamp.
Come on, yeah.
I mean, just because he was good looking, basically, and he sold products for Joe Weider. But, Jose said that was a different order. That was a different era. That's when Joe Weider was running things. Joe just had to make one phone call or make one statement, and it was done.
Yeah.
You need a compelling reason. And the fact that he lost by a small margin to Ian Valliere at the one chance he gave himself to qualify, that's not really a justifiable reason to let him into the Olympia. But I'd love to see him on the Olympia. Come on.
I'm torn. Because I've said before, I've spoken against the special invite. I think it's a load of rubbish. And then when one of my favorites doesn't qualify, then I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, maybe you should. It's like, but then again, right. I would have no argument if he got it. I'd be happy for him. But I think that's the gamble you take when you leave it to the last minute to qualify. That's the gamble. That has to be the lesson you have to learn. Well, okay, I need to qualify early next year. I'm sorry, Steve, but if that's what you do, you can't. Otherwise, everyone's just going to go, well, rule it. One of the big names will just go and leave it to the last minute next year and go, don't worry, they'll give me a special invite. I was top 6 last year. I just think it's not fair. It's not fair.
No, I agree. I mean, look, in the Classic, a similar thing happened in the Classic Physique. Logan Franklin was the heavy favorite going into that show. I saw the list of people, and I didn't see any way that he wasn't going to win that, because I follow him on social media. I know what he was looking like.
Yeah.
And he brought an incredible package to the show. Would have been the clear winner, but he lost by 1 point because Robert Timms came back after 3 years away looking insane.
Unbelievable.
I have Tim's top 3 in the Olympia already, just based on that, the way he looked.
Did you see that video when he just came out and he did that little leg flick and he just flicked up that frontal bicep, and it was like, I think one of the bodybuilders without borders posted it, and it was just like a holy shit moment. Because it's funny, because like we did the preview and I said, oh, well, hang on, there's one guy, Robert Timms, hasn't competed for a couple of years. Check him out.
I said, be quiet, Charles. He's done. Well, that guy's all washed up.
You had Austin Carr, I had Robert Timms. Okay, well, we're even. But I was just like, even I said he's one to watch or whatever I said, and he really shocked me. Because he was on no one's radar.
I forgot all about him.
Well, you do. He was
6th place in the very first Classic Olympia in 2016.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but he went downhill after that. He only did 3 Olympias. So 2016 he was 6th.
Only 3.
6th place. 17 he was 14th.
Oh God.
2018 he was 15th, and that was the last we saw of him until this past weekend.
Yeah, but Ron, we've got like at the Classic and the 212 especially. I mean, if I actually listed all the guys that I might have said, oh, he's going to be top 5, he could be top 5. I've got about 12 guys in each now.
Oh, I do too, because that's how
stacked.
the Olympia should be.
Yeah,
the Olympia should be that competitive. It shouldn't be, okay, here's 5 guys who are definitely going to be top 5, and there's a bunch of chumps who they're just going to be like sharing the stage and looking on with disappointment. I mean,
exciting.
It's exciting that way. I like. And it was, who just said that the Olympias are deeper now? Somebody made that comment recently, that the Olympias are deeper now quality-wise. And I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I definitely see quality all the way down the top 10, whereas maybe in years past, by the time you get to 8th, 9th, 10th, you're like, these guys they're not good enough to be in the top 5.
Well, 212 and Classic, I think it has been for the last couple of years, especially. I think from 2018 onwards, 212 and Classic have been getting deeper and deeper. Like I think a couple of years ago, you had 2 or 3 guys in the Classic that were good, and then everybody else was like, some of them you just think, how did they even qualify? And some in the Classic, you think, how did they even get the freaking pro card? But now the talent is really like, how many shows have you been to? Well, like you said on the preview, you said there's guys in top 5 now, and they're all new faces.
Right. Yeah. But every show I say this guy could be top 5, basically. I mean,
let's see.
There's so much talent. But man, Robert Timms, wow. I'll grab an interview with him next week, but man, he's
Awesome.
just phenomenal. That taper, the arms, the proportions on him. He's like a bigger, because I often say men's physique guys, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of the division, but I'm in admiration of the way so many of them have these massive shoulders, arms, backs, and the tiniest little waist. Because you certainly don't see that very often in open bodybuilding. Even in classic, you don't see it that exaggerated very often. But Tim's has that tiny waist, and he's so wide and big. Oh, man.
Very, very interested to see how he will look against Terence Ruffin and Chris Bumstead, because I think he's at that level.
That's what I said. I have him in the top 3.
Wow.
We're leaving. I don't know where that puts Breon. I mean, Breon could win. Any of these guys could surprise us and look phenomenal and win. I'm not writing anyone off, but I was just very, very impressed by Tim's.
Not a hater, but he'll beat Breon.
I mean, if Breon lost to Chris because of Chris's stature and width, then Tim's has that also.
Yeah.
Classic shouldn't come down to giving such advantages to taller, wider men. It's supposed to be, a mix of many different kinds of classic physiques, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you know what I like about Robert Timms? He kind of appeals to the classic fans and the open bodybuilding fans, because I saw a picture of his riddle bicep and someone said it's like the second coming of Lee Haney.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
incredible.
How often do you see a taper like that? You just don't. With someone with that kind of mass usually doesn't have a tiny, tiny waist. And I don't know what he weighs. I'll find out. But he's taller than Logan. I'm guessing he's somewhere around 230 or more. But, yeah.
How tall?
Wow.
How tall?
I'm going to guess, because I remember him from years ago. I want to say he's about 6'1" or more.
He looks tall.
I'm sure he's over 6 foot.
He looks tall.
But, yeah. And his legs that was a weak point from the past. They've definitely improved. He's Mr. Classic Physique on Instagram. So he's actually put up a couple good 2018 and 2021 comparisons for us to see the improvements.
Well, I think I'd pretty much give my kidney to look like him or Chris Bumstead.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this many times. I'm a huge fan of Rami and Hadi and those guys, but who would I want to look like? Come on, Bumstead all damn day.
Just walking around the pool in your shorts all day.
Exactly. I would never put a shirt on.